Hello, welcome to the Sutliffian Report. Today we are going to be talking about freedom of speech and Islam. And boy, it's in my last book, the Cancer Civilization Jihad. I'm going to cover some of that, but the reasons I'm getting into that are stuff that's just happening again this week. This is why I keep looking at the book that I wrote and I say, it's never going to go out of date because all the issues in there, I have 20 different chapters in there. And it just seems like everything keeps coming back up. And that really bothers me to think that topics of, because I'm talking about social norms. That's the thing I guess that bothers me the most, that these social norms keep getting in the news. Well, I should look back and say, well, that's the real reason I wrote the book to begin with, to explain what I was seeing and to let other people start to think. But you know, we'll get into that in a bit. This is a Christian news show, so we always start with a reading from the Word of God. Today we're reading Matthew 28 to 34. And I'm going to say that before this passage comes, Jesus calms the storm. And that's important to understand. He was sleeping. He woke up because everybody was panicking and scared. I mean, there's a professional fisherman on this boat, and they're scared. And they wake him up, and he just says, tells the sea to be quiet, and the wind is still, and that's it. Calm, peace. That's it. So let's read this. Matthew 8:28 to 34. And when he was come to the other side of the country of Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceedingly fierce, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, What have you to do with us, Jesus, you Son of God? Are you come here to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off from them a herd of many swine feeding. So the devils begged of him, saying, If you cast us out, allow us to go away into the herd of swine. And he said unto them, Go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a hill, down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the waters. And they that kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything, and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coasts. So here's my thoughts on this. If we look at that last passage, and we're talking about where Jesus calms the seas, and we can see a plan of attack of wind and water. So bad it scares, again, professional fishermen. That's just, they have a healthy respect for water, but you don't often see them scared. Then we find two people possessed with many demons. One may have had nothing to do with the other, but it does make you wonder if the minions of Lucifer thought they could kill Jesus, the Son of God, as he slept, and had brought the persons they possessed towards the shoreline to watch their work. It almost sounds as if they are pouting like little children who know they've been caught doing something wrong when Jesus, the Son of God, comes ashore. Criminals, when caught, try to make plea deals, asking how much time off they can get for sharing information or doing the police favors. In this case, the plea deal is the herd of swine. The demons wanted a body anybody would do. Jesus grants them this request. They think they have won something huge and run for their prize, only to find out they have entered into a herd of suicidal swine. The first one that I've ever heard of. What a surprise for them. Now, those who speak of this passage usually stop there and they ignore the next few verses that mention the demonically possessed people or the swine were kept. I kind of wonder if they're talking about, when they're talking about that next verse, I'm just going to read it again. I think it refers more to the swine, but I'm curious when I think about this. And behold, the whole, verse 33, I'm just going to read it again. And they that kept them fled and went their ways into the city and told everything and what was befallen to the possessed of the devils. This could refer entirely entirely to the swine. But what if it also refers to the people who, to the place where those demon possessed people were? What if those two were kept also in that area? What if they were getting paid to keep them there, provide food, and keep the city safe? It's something to think about. Um, you know, these keepers of they didn't come out and share glad tidings. Hosanna, Jesus has come. They didn't do that. No, they went and they said something like, Jesus is coming. He knows your sins. He's powerful. He's going to point them out. I mean, so these people come out and they don't want him there. Uh, think about that. This man had a reputation of healing the blind, uh, opening the ears of the deaf, making the lame to walk. I mean, the amount of miracles, leprosy just disappearing, and yet they didn't want him there. I'm kind of mind numb when I think about that. But, when you see this kind of stuff in a church where they're keeping people silent from telling the truth, there are churches who don't want to hear the truth about Islam. That's scary. They should know that it's evil. They should be telling their people that it is evil. But there are churches out there that are dead. I don't have another description for them. When you're lukewarm, you're dead. You're not a real church.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're not following Jesus. So I say get out. You find yourself someplace like that, get out. Find one that's open and daring enough to speak against sin. All right, let's pray. Dear Lord Jesus, Lord, thank you for just being so much bigger than we can even grasp, Lord. You love us beyond our comprehension. You're patient with our stubbornness. You teach us different ways, in different ways, so that we can grasp more about who you are. You are a personal God. You listen to us. You even plead with us when we do stupid things. Lord, we ask that you would just keep working on us, keep molding us, keep refining us so that we can be better examples of who you are to those who have yet to learn who you are. In your name, Lord Jesus, amen. Now, I am going to be sharing a few things that should be shocking. When I say it should be, I say that because if they're not, something's wrong. And that's a scary thing if something's wrong. So I want to talk about Islam versus freedom of speech. And, I have permission to use this because it's in this picture I got permission to use. It's in my book. This is the one that won an award. This picture is one of the ones that won an award here in the United States for Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. And the cool thing about that is we're about to have another Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. But it's not here.
Yeah.
It's not here. It's not in the United States. No. And let me get my mouse back. Welcome, Connie. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Hey there, Paul. God bless you all.
This is in Sweden. Paladin has Rasmussen Paladin has uttered a he's got a challenge, and he's going to hold and everybody draw Muhammad Day, and that's his picture that he's drawn. Now he's not a great artist. He's better than I am, far better than I am. I draw stick figures. I don't think I could get that detail. I don't think anybody wants me to draw a picture. That's it's again, I think this stuff is actually important, and we're going to get into that. Freedom of speech, we have to have it. We have to keep it. We have to fight for it, even if it's just to do something as silly as draw Muhammad Day. Why do I say we have to do that? Because if we don't do things like this, we give up. We give up the freedom we have. These are things we have to fight for. So let me share a little bit about this article. And Samnit, I love Samnit. You can go to SAMNYTT, and let me just get the right address here. .se, and you'll find this is one of their top points. And let me get back to the page so I can see the screen. Okay. So on Friday, parliamentarian candidate Rasmus Paludan organized a drawing competition under the name of Rita Muhammad Day, which is Draw Muhammad Day, in Malmo. Okay, that is insane. I will say this. Malmo is the highest population of Islam in all of Sweden, and he's going to hold this there. He's putting his life at risk. He's basically to call out those who want to say you can't have freedom of speech. And that's one of the reasons he goes around and burns Qurans. I'm not behind this burning of the Qurans. I think everybody should read them. It'll convince everybody, tell people to read these things, because once you read them, you know that no God's behind that, because it's not clear. But Paladin is, again, he's provoking people to think. That's what I can say that I do like. So this is the second year in a row this Danish-Swedish politician is holding a freedom of expression event in Sweden. Last year, the police authority could not guarantee security and therefore moved the square meeting to a remote area of, I cannot pronounce that name, in Sweden. Paladin has now applied for a general meeting on May 20th. Now, I think this date is unique. We're going to be talking about that. May 20th. And it's a Friday. So you're going to see why it's unique in a minute. It won't take long. Let's keep going on this article. And get the mouse where I want it. Okay. Come on. Samnit has been in contact with Paladin, who tells more about his drawing competition, which has been organized several times in Denmark. I like the way this is written. I mean, they ask questions and ask you to respond to it. A Drawing Muhammad Day is needed everywhere, now at least in Denmark and a little closer to Sweden. Some have begun to accept that you can burn and blaspheme the Quran because this has happened so often. But this withdrawing Muhammad has not. Been accepted. People are still terrified of doing so, and he thinks it's really important that people do this because they're scared. Well, we got to get rid of that fear. I'll agree with him there. You can't accept that they want you to fear. So how do you, they asked the question, how do you see the prospect of actually holding your square meeting in Rosengård? He says, I think it's completely impossible because the police in the South region love Islam, or at least they are very afraid of Islam. They have no power in Rosengård. We saw this during the Quran riots in August of 2020. And now during the Easter weekend, even though this is again Paladin who's responding, I did not have a general meeting in Rosengård. Police Region South is totally scared. Police Chief Petra Stankula is a bit ironic because there are so many bullets being thrown at the police. She's quite afraid of the residents. And this is, they're talking about this in Sweden. They're talking about it in Norway. They're talking about in Denmark, that people are scared. These policemen are scared of the many followers of Islam that have entered their country and are starting to become politicians. They're scared of, yes. Welcome. I can see the person on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. You're welcome. You know what? If you're on Facebook, come on to YouTube, look up the Sutliffian report, and if you come here, we'll put you'll be able to find the StreamYard link. You can join us live if you'd like. We have I'm reading this stuff all the time, that there's new news out there, and I'm going to get into the other issue in just a second. Here's another one. This goes on. He says, so the Constitution cannot be maintained in the area. Now, this is what's important that gets asked, because freedom of speech is in the Swedish Constitution. If they can't enforce that everybody has the right to express themselves through drawing or holding a contest about drawing Muhammad, what does that say? And they say the police cannot enforce the Constitution. Swedish police do not have the will and ability. If I were the head of the Swedish police, Rasmussen says, Swedish police, then would be different. There, I would guarantee everybody can draw Muhammad and Rosengard. I would order the police to use tear gas, rubber bullets, water cannons, and firearms. Notice he's not talking about things that would actually cause people to die. It's actually a peaceful and correct response to a riot. He's not talking about getting out sticks and beating them back. He's saying allow the freedom of speech to be expressed. There's no reason for this. So this is, again, why I think this event is actually good. Now, here's the humor in this May 20th date. You're going to see this, why I'm saying it's humorous. So, all right. Let's, let me tell you the other event first. Reason why I got into this. We'll go back one more. So yesterday, I work with Usama Dakdak on his show and a few other things that we're friends, and we talk back and forth. And he's talking about Dr. Oz, who's running for office. And he wondered if I could find him a couple video clips of things. And I found one. Let me see if I can share that. Dr. Oz, I am on the same boat that Usama Dakdak is that we should not at any point be backing someone like Dr. Oz. Why? Because he totally believes in Islam. He'll come out and he talks about his mother having been secular and his father. This is important. The reason why I'm saying the father. And he'll talk about his father being basically sold out for Islam. His father's a staunch believer in Islam. When you listen to him, he'll. I have seen several little clips where he said, "Well, we don't want Sharia." I'm going to play you a clip where he kind of doesn't say that, and in some ways says the exact opposite. Now, my big issue here is Dr. Oz is running for Congress, the Senate, in Pennsylvania. And you know who endorsed him? President Trump. And I think that's a dangerous, dangerous thing. Yet we have that happening today. And that's something to be thinking about. Why did he get endorsed? What? Because he's a Republican. Why did he get endorsed? Because he's appeared moderate. The truth is that there is nothing called moderate Islam. He gives the appearance. And because of that appearance, it's not a fair picture. So let me show you this picture. Let me share this screen. I don't know how well this will work because I have not tried a YouTube video on here before, but let's see. All right, let's see if I can get this going. Can you all see this? All right.
Oz comes from, or have no idea that you are of Turkish descent. They also have no idea that you are
Can you hear this fine?
From a very strong Muslim tradition. How does the Muslim religion affect your identity or sense of yourself?
I've struggled a lot with my Muslim identity, in part because within my family, there were two very different perspectives on it. My mother's family is a very secular family. They're very proud that they're secular Turks. And by that I mean, and for people who don't study how religion plays roles in other countries, in America, we've gotten very comfortable with the division of church and state. Our religion is very dear to us, it's precious to us, but we don't look to our political leaders to give us religious insights. That is a departure from the norm in Islam. Islam is a religion, but it's a law. And so it is very often, in fact, in almost every country.
Wait, it's a religion, but it's a what? Did anybody else catch that? What did she say? What did Dr. Oz say? He said that Islam is a religion, but it's a law. At no point does he stop talking, in the rest of this video. He talks about secularism. He talks about other things. But this man has just said that his faith, this is where I get concerned, is law. He'll tell people he doesn't want Sharia. So is he now saying that he doesn't want Islam? Because he's just equated Islam with Sharia. So this is where we get double speech. And if you looked at the date, let me just read that date off there. I can give you the full screen of that so you can see. It's 2015 he said this. He wasn't thinking about running for office. Okay? Now, these are things to be thinking about. What's the real intent here? He wants to run for office. Does he want to be, if we have a Republican, I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. I don't think people who represent America should be against freedom of speech. Now, Dr. Oz has recently come out against freedom of speech. See, somebody called him out as being a follower of Islam, and they made a comment. It's his opponent candidate made a comment close to 10 years ago, equating Islam with a pedophilia. I mean, if you like Islam, basically you like pedophilia. That's basically what the tweet says. Again, if you have to go 10 years back to find something that's offensive and you're using it, you're a weenie. I'm sorry. You don't have much to stand up and stay what's right and wrong. Something's wrong with you if you have to go back that far to find something wrong. Well, the truth is about this tweet, Muhammad did marry a 6-year-old, and he did feel her up until she was 9 when he took her to bed. And I'm being as polite as I possibly can by saying that. This man is a pedophile. And I have yet to meet a follower of Islam who does not consider Muhammad a perfect man. And if you want to emulate the perfect man, does that mean you want to be a pedophile too? You've got to ask these questions. I mean, they're sick, they're sad, but they really, really need to be asked.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally consider them, it's filthy, it's dirty, but that is the truth about Islam. And again, Islam is not pretty. So you can't deny that. It's just important to recognize. Now, I'm going to get back into this. What does it mean when he makes that statement? Islam is law. He's recognizing that Sharia, he's saying that his faith is law. And what do Muslims consider it? They consider it the supreme authority of all. So any man-made laws mean nothing. Yet he wants to become, this is where things get really important to think about. He wants to become a lawmaker. So what kind of laws and stuff is he going to put forth? He wants to silence all those who stand against Islam. So you and I might not be able to criticize Islam if we have a Muslim on the Republican side, Muslims on the Democrat side, now telling us you don't have that freedom of speech anymore. It sounds like we're in Canada.
Too bad we got it. God gave us a mouth.
Yes.
I don't care what they say.
Yeah. And that's in Canada, they have silenced people pretty effectively. They're afraid because the way they're doing things there is they will take them before court. And if you get found guilty, it's very difficult for anyone to hire you. In fact, the way it works, they fine you an incredible amount of money. And then for the rest of your life, you're tagged as having gone before a tribunal, a human rights commission type thing, and come out as a hater. You are labeled a hater basically for the rest of your life. So let's talk about Muhammad and his concept of freedom of speech. So what does he do with insults? That's what we should probably start. That's as easy as it gets. What does Muhammad say about insults? All right. So this is as easy and as clear as it gets. So again, this is just if he's being insulted, he's being called names. What does Muhammad do? This is right from the Sirah, the Sirah al-Rasul. Before Muhammad left Mecca, he would worship by kissing the black stone and circling the Kaaba, along with the polytheists that he condemned. He's doing the same thing with the polytheist. Kind of makes you think he's what? A polytheist? All right. Ibn Ishaq relates the following story of how Muhammad dealt with an insult. So here we go. While they were discussing him, Muhammad, the apostle came towards them and kissed the black stone. Then he passed them as he walked around the temple. As he passed, they said some injurious things. They insulted him. Ooh. And he says, this I could see from his expression. He went on, and as he passed them the second time, they attacked him similarly. Again, they haven't physically touched him. So they're hurling insults at him. They're saying nasty things about him. They could be cussing at him. All right. So again, it says, this I could see from expression. And then he passed the third time, and they did the same. He stops and says, will you listen to me, O Quraysh? By him who holds my life in his hand, I bring you slaughter. He's not.
Yeah, he's a murderer. Might as well say I'm a murderer.
He's just committed. He's just made a statement that he's going to commit mass treason. I say mass treason. He's planning on killing not just the individuals who said something. He's talking about wiping out people. A slaughter is you're killing a huge amount of people that live in an area. We had the shooting in Buffalo. It was a slaughter in a shopping plaza, in a supermarket, if you think about it that way. Yeah, it's a very small supermarket. And yeah, it was a slaughter. This is his way, and this, if you consider this him being all for freedom of speech, I think you have some issues. This is crazy when you start thinking about it. This is Muhammad's example, the perfect man's example of how to deal with freedom of speech. I have issues. All right. Let's look at another passage. Now, this guy, now al-Nadir. This is again from Sir al-Rasul bin al-Rith, was one of the Satans of the Quraysh, again written by Islam, followers of Islam. He used to insult the apostle and show him enmity. He had been to Al-Hira and learned there the tales of the kings of Persia, the tales of Rustum and Istanbul. When the apostle had held a meeting in which he reminded them of Allah and warned his people of what happened to bygone generations as a result of Allah's vengeance, al-Nadir got up when he sat down and said, I can tell a better story than he. Come to me. And he's mocking Muhammad. There's a reason he's mocking Muhammad. You know what it is? Muhammad messed the stories up. And that's actually documented, not in the Quran. Well, you could say it's documented in the Quran because Muhammad's mess ups are there. But when you go and you find the actual stories that existed, just as he's saying in other sources, from the tales of kings of Persia, the tales of Rustum, he's learned all these. When you learn all those things, you can find some of these tales, and the original stories mock either Muhammad's memory or his ability to accurately repeat them. And so what happens to this guy? Now that came from page 308. What happens to the guy who basically is telling the truth? And he's saying, I can do it better. What happens? Well, the fate of the mockers and poets. It's not long. And, we go on and you get to page 308 and in this book, and Nader gets killed by Ali, Muhammad's nephew. So now they're talking about this guy, Uqba. And it says, when the apostle ordered him to be killed, he addressed Uqba. When Uqba said, but who will look after my children, Muhammad? Hell. Yeah, this guy he wants to kill. Who's going to look after them? So he's not only condemning the guy who mocked him in poetry, he's condemning their children.
Yep, to hell.
To hell.
That's because Muhammad is a man of hell.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And how can anybody make a claim that their perfect guy, doesn't, this is why we talk about the importance of innocent until proven guilty. Even that concept is disappeared by this man's hatred of freedom of speech. So if you dared to say your thoughts and they didn't agree with Muhammad, your children were condemned. This is why, it's a simple discussion about when a person follows Islam, it's all about absolute submission. You can't deny in any way something. In the Muslim Brotherhood, I hope to be having a new guest on in the near future. She's a genius, outstanding writer, and I have seen a book that she's written, and I'm just about done assisting with writing the index, and I have to say that I can't tell more, but I really I can't wait to have her on because her knowledge is vast. But one of the points she keeps making is that in this group, the Muslim Brotherhood, absolute submission, you can't question, is required. You can't think for yourself. It's required. You have, in the United States Army, if you get an order and it's considered unconstitutional and you follow that order, you're going to jail. So you have to be able to think for yourself. It doesn't matter that someone told you to do something wrong. It matters that you're supposed to be able to think for yourself. And that's extremely important in the concept of Judeo-Christian heritage. You have a brain. God gave it to you. Use it.
Amen.
That's not what this man wants. And, if you use your brain and you read the Quran, you're probably going to say, what? This is as clear as mud. Why am I reading this? But again, the people who read this and claim it as their scripture in general don't read it. I would say 99.99999% of all of the followers of Islam have never read it passage for passage to think about it. There are only a few, and these are the scholars that wrote the tafsirs. Because most Muslims don't read their own scriptures. And, if you're a follower of Christianity or Judaism, this is beyond, it's beyond our comprehension, because if you have a God that you wish to worship, don't you think you should read what he thinks is important?
Yes.
And yeah, that's where it gets me. There's a great push for them not to read. Okay. So let's go on. Let's talk about Salman Rushdie. Let's go. This is Salman Rushdie. Poor Salman Rushdie. What did he do? He didn't do anything bad. Oh, I have something before this. Hold on just a second. I have another video to share first. We had a president not long ago, and he said something that I consider disgustingly wrong. Disgusting. I don't have a nicer statement than disgustingly wrong. This is Barack Hussein Obama. And I'm just going to play this video, and you tell me.
Leave the call of violence and the politics of division behind. On so many issues, we face a choice between the promise of the future or the prisons of the past. And we cannot afford to get it wrong. We must seize this moment. And America stands ready to work with all who are willing to embrace a better future. The future must not belong to those who target Coptic Christians in Egypt. It must be claimed by those in Tahrir Square who chanted, Muslims, Christians, we are one. The future must not belong to those who bully women. It must be shaped by girls who go to school and those who stand for a world where our daughters can live their dreams just like our sons. The future must not belong to those corrupt few who steal a country's resources. It must be won by the students and entrepreneurs, the workers and business owners who seek a broader prosperity for all people. Those are the women and men that America stands with. Theirs is the vision we will support. The future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. But to be
Whoa.
credible, those who condemn that slander must also condemn the hate we see in the images of Jesus Christ that are desecrated, or churches that are destroyed, or the Holocaust that is denied.
Any
I think it's such a
time,
yeah, very two-faced, flattery, like an antichrist coming in nice, and at the end, it's slaughter.
my big issue, I like to be fair. I generally only get into the clip where and I stop, I generally only talk about where he says, the future must not belong to those who slander the Prophet of Islam. Then he says, let's listen closely to what he said. He says, yet to be credible, those who condemn that slander must also condemn the hate we see when the image of Jesus Christ is desecrated. Whose hate are we seeing? He's talking about the Christian hate towards the Muslim for doing those things. So he's not talking about. This is where you have to look at it being double speak.
Yes.
He's actually talking about it making us angry. Well, the funny thing is, it doesn't make us hate. It makes us sad for them, because they just don't have a concept of love. And when the Holocaust is denied, that doesn't make Jews hate you. It makes us concerned. All right. And that is,
Yeah.
I mean, you have to be very, very cautious when you're reading this and listening to him, because he uses double speak. He's a master of it.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
I have
and
a lot
Paul,
of concerns.
he's talking about against Jesus. He just said pictures, but Muhammad speaks against Jesus, saying that he's not the Son of God. So, like you said, it's double speak. It's just flattery, where thinking that people aren't understanding what he's saying, but we are, because the Quran condemns Jesus all the way through, saying that he's just the son of Mary. He was only a messenger, and that's it. Jesus is God. Thank you.
Yeah. Again, this is some of this stuff you just sit here like, whoa. I mean, and I've shown you an example of Dr. Oz using doublespeak. He considered Islam law. All right. I've shown you another Muslim, Barack Hussein Obama, saying, again, he's not saying Islam is law, but he's quoting Muhammad's take on freedom of speech. Sorry, you don't get any future if you insult Muhammad. Oh, why? Because Muhammad's okay with you being killed. I mean, he said it with his own words. You heard it from just insults. And, it's not stuff that I'm making up. It's there. Is it historical? Well, we started this by talking about Dr. Oz and Rasmussen Paladin, who's doing another Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. And I still think that May 20th date is funny. And you'll hear why in a minute. But let's go into Salman Rushdie and what's happened for him. Salman Rushdie, let me just get to the screen sharing here. Okay. Here we go. Salman Rushdie, let's talk about on February 14th of 1989, Ayatollah Khomeini wrote a fatwa against Salman Rushdie for his book, The Satanic Verses. Now, the Satanic Verses are in the Sir al-Rasul. They're there. Everybody can read it. And you know what? That's an Islamic source. It's there. All right. I had no clue when this was going on. Well, I mean, in 1989, I was still in, I was just, let's see, 1989, I was still a young kid in seminary. I mean, sorry, not in seminary, but in, my undergrad years. And I didn't have a clue about Islam. I couldn't understand what they were talking about with satanic verses. But once you start looking into Islamic sources, you know who writes about them the most? Muslims. Muslim scholars. Yeah. Okay. Most of Christianity was ignorant of it. So this one guy, Salman Rushdie, writes about it, and all of a sudden they want to condemn him. So let's read what Ayatollah Khomeini said in his fatwa. He wrote, I inform proud Muslim people of the world that the author of the Satanic Verses book, which is against Islam, the Prophet, and the Quran, and all those involved in its publication who are aware of its content are sentenced to death. I ask all the Muslims to execute them wherever they find them. Many Western democracies during this time rallied in defense of Rushdie, defending his freedom of speech, but Muslims around the world rushed to declare their disgust of Rushdie. In Bradford, UK, Ishtiaq Ahmed led a group to first read the book to see if they could agree with the Ayatollah, and then publicly burned their one and only copy of the book. The BBC wrote about this. The anger and emotion within the Muslim community at the lack of understanding of their position finally led to calls to burn the damn thing in a protest in front of Bradford's key public buildings. A spot was selected. It had symbolic meaning, a faith community demonstrating and saying, we matter, we exist, we are here, our presence matters. The police station, town, and hall, magistrates' courts, they are ours as much as anyone else. Really? So you want to take away our ability to have freedom of speech and you want to control it through the courts? That's quite a telling statement. Bookstores that carried the books around the world were in danger of being firebombed. Guess where? Berkeley, California. You know where? That's one of those, universities, the Californian University, where you find the Hamas connections. Oh, yes. Think about it. The Viol bookstore in Oslo, Norway, was burned to the ground as a result of bombing. The book's Japanese translator, Hitoshi Igarashi, an assistant professor of comparative culture at Tsubaka University, was murdered and his death credited to the fatwa. Eventually, around 10 countries banned the book, including India, the author's native country. But again, Salman Rushdie wasn't sharing anything that Islamic scholars hadn't discussed for centuries. That's the insanity of this. They said he was insulting the Prophet. But if the Prophet said these things and they're recorded by Muslims who are talking to other Muslims, why? You have to sit there. Well, because anybody who listens,
why aren't they killing their scholars if they're so impassioned about?
Because they're already dead. I sat there when I started doing my own research on this, like, wait a minute, he's not being insulting, he's just discussing a brief passage. When it comes down, it's a horrible thing. It sounds horrible, it sounds insulting, but the truth is, and sometimes the truth is not always what we want it to be. And this is what it comes down to. He also helped, his statements helped sell the book. I'll say that. And hopefully it helped people leave Islam. But things are, again, you can't have freedom of speech when you have Islam. They don't work together. Let's look at another example of this. All right.
Yeah, but the only ones who have freedom of speech is the Muslims and the Quran.
Yes.
See? So, that's a bigot.
Well, you get this imam named Kenny who, he doesn't want you to say anything that would contradict with him. And then you get, we've had Yahya on here calling us worse than pigs. when we've actually, when he's cited something, we go and we read it. Doesn't matter if it's from the Bible or the Quran. Then he gets upset because we're doing what? We're not letting him just garble citations off the top of his head, which may mean nothing. Which is what we've discovered when he does that. He cites 6, 7, 8, 10 citations. I think one day was at least 10 in a row, and none of them really had anything to do with the topic, which I still find humorous. But again, you can't allow. I mean, freedom of expression, freedom of speech has to do with being able to have a discussion, being able to have what's called a logical argument. Now, there are limits on freedom of speech. In the United States, the biggest limit we have is something called the clear and present danger test. And every 11th grader in New York State has to know this in order to pass their U.S. history test. They have to know that if something poses a clear and present danger, okay, you don't have the freedom to do that. That means you don't have the freedom to say those things. So you can't go into a movie theater that's packed out, or into a auditorium, or go to a concert and then yell fire at the top of your lungs. And
Right.
you can't do that. That's against the law. All right. You can't yell bomb. You can't, all these things you can't do, because that's to protect your safety. That's where someone else's freedoms get limited, because they're stomping on your freedom to enjoy life. That's extremely important to grasp. So is having a discussion stomping on someone's freedoms? No. If that's the case, then every bully should be locked up. Don't give them a chance. Just put them in chains. No. Again, I don't think bullying is great. I think it's a horrible thing. But again, you have to be to the point where you have to be cognitively able. Sorry. You know who I'm talking about. You have to be cognitively able to have a discussion. You have to be, age
Right.
appropriate to have this kind of discussion. It's not something I recommend for children. When you're in high school, that's about the time you start to ask these questions. So what do they really state? What do they really believe? Ask those questions. Why? Because that's the best way to learn. Sorry, Swedes. Yes, you have to ask questions. I know it's part of your culture not to, but yes, you have to read. You have to get into the questions. Let's talk about Van Gogh, Theo Van Gogh. So this is a guy, Theo Van Gogh, and Ayaan Hirsi, who was a Dutch politician from Somalia. She was working with Theo Van Gogh on a documentary on the topic of Islamic gender apartheid. So this is, how Islam treats females in general. They created a short film called Submission. You know what's funny about that? What's that word submission mean in Arabic? What is that word submission in Arabic?
Islam.
Yes. Okay. So this short film exposed some of the horrors of women are subjected to through Islam, which are mentioned in previous chapters in this book. So Ayaan Hirsi went into great detail in the short film. It was broadcast on prime time on a central Dutch television channel in August of 2004. 3 months later, on November 2nd, Theo Van Gogh was riding his bicycle on his regular route through Amsterdam. Mohamed Bouyari, a second-generation Muslim migrant from Morocco, fired his gun 8 times, striking Theo. Now, Theo was barely alive. He was begging for mercy, according to eyewitnesses. And Bouyari, this follower of Islam, slits his throat in an attempt to decapitate him. And then he attaches a note to the victim. I believe it's 5 pages long. And part of that was "You're next," and speaking to Ayaan Hirsi Ali. Here's what this letter said. With your apostasy, leaving Islam, again, written to her, you have not only turned away from the truth, but you are marching with evil soldiers. You spew untruths against Islam and Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. With this letter, I will try to stop you forever. Peace be upon the Emir of the Holy Warriors, the laughing killer Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, his family, and those who follow him faithfully. So, is anybody aware where the reference for laughing killer comes from? I have a clue. There is a point in the Sirah where Muhammad is asked, what would make Allah laugh? And Muhammad turns to this guy and says, take off all your armor and run into the fray. So this guy takes off his armor, runs forward with just his sword, and is shortly thereafter killed.
And that's what makes Allah laugh, huh? A man to be murdered. Wow.
That is pretty much the concept of strapping on a bomb. When you think about it, the guy is going to sacrifice himself, but he's going to go out, trying to take as many as he can. And that, I believe, is where and if, you look at it that way, yeah. Back in this isn't that long ago when you think about it. That's only 2004 we're talking about. And I'm not going to get as far up into modern times as I would like, because there's just no way. There's just no way I'm going to be able to cover all that. But his death shocked the world during this time. I remember it hitting here in the States, and in 2004, I really didn't know much about Islam. I hadn't, been slapped awake, so to speak, because that happened to me, or I had no choice. I had to wake up because it became very local to me. And I think sometimes many of us are willing to be ignorant because it doesn't affect us personally. I'm sorry, people. No matter where you are today, Islam affects you personally. You may not know it yet, but it does.
Yes,
All
it
right.
does. We all have to wake up.
So let me just get into this. The concept that someone who had no fear of Islam and felt safe in his house could be attacked and murdered in such a savage way for just practicing freedom of speech. His death, more than any other at the time, awakened the media to the censorious nature of Islam. The Islamic proclamation to be careful what you say and to make sure you do not insult Islam was very clear. Writers such as Jan Hirsi Ali felt the very real dagger at their daringness to share what is true, because the God of Islam may get angry and send people to kill whoever offends Islam. On September 30th, yeah, wow, cry me a river. I'm sorry.
Woo,
If you're afraid of
woo.
the truth, I'm sorry. Little God Allah. If you have to have someone be silenced because they're speaking the truth, again, you're a little God. See, my God is truth,
Amen.
and his name is Jesus.
Hallelujah.
All right. September 30th, 2005, Gillen's Poston, and I think I have that one up. So let me just read this one. So this is by Hirsi Ali. Some things must be said, and there are times when silence becomes an accomplice to injustice.
Yes.
There's not much of a stronger statement that can be said. When you have a church that's being silent, they're an accomplice. When they don't allow you to tell the truth about Islam in churches, they're an accomplice. I'm putting a blanket statement out there. We have to be the ones to get these things out to people. Why?
Amen.
Because there are so many deceivers out there. And again, my expertise is in something called civilization jihad. I studied, Osama calls it deception jihad. And I think the title is actually broader than the concept of just deception, because I'm looking at it as being a highly organized effort to commit war. I'm looking at it as a war, not as anything else. And deception is just a part of war. And if you're allowing that deception, you can't call yourself a great patriot either.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what country you're in, you have to stand up against this concept. I mean, these are things we have to fight for, getting the truth out. Let's keep going here. So the 20th, let me get into the Gillen's posting thing here. Okay. Now this, every time I look at these pictures, these are the 12 cartoons that were put out September 30th, 2005. That got Muslims extremely upset. The one that's known the most is the one in the center with the bomb on the which is supposed to be. Nobody said it was Muhammad. That's important to understand. No one said that was Muhammad. Yet, that's the one thing everybody claims, that this is Muhammad. Okay, the artist never wrote that, never said it. The Gillen's posting never said it. But let's keep going. The newspaper, the Netherlands, published 12 cartoons of Muhammad. Okay, so it's supposed to be of Muhammad. Kurt Westergaard's biographer, John Likegaard, wants us to reflect on what's happening before the cartoons are published. He believes it's important to understand what's happening in the world at that point. He reminds us that the attack on the United States on September 11, 2001, horrified many around the world. Next came the 2002 attack on the nightclub in Bali, then the 2004 bombing at the Atocha station in Madrid, Spain, and then the Islamic terror attack on the London Underground in July of 2005. This is only months after. These attacks reawakened the world to Islam and its violence upon non-Muslims. Westergaard created the cartoons as a protest against what he called Islamic fundamentalist violence that seemed to be in the news all too often. John Likegaard, again, the biographer of Kurt Westergaard, he wrote this. One of the most important reasons for the cartoon-related unrest in the Middle East in 2006 was that Imam Raed Halahal from Brabrand in Aarhus, a suburb of Abu Laban, and Abu Laban from Copenhagen, among others, went on a tour of the Middle East to draw attention to the cartoons. To ensure a successful result, they brought along other drawings and images. The image, which at first was perceived as the greatest insult against Muhammad, was a photo from a pig squealing competition in France, depicting an innocent mechanic wearing a pig mask. Yeah, it's so ridiculous. You sit here like, wow. I mean, we're talking about how could they not catch this? How could they not see this? Yeah. They were being deceived. They had to rile people up with misinformation. That kind of stuff, you sit there like, wait a minute. I mean, this is, these are facts. I mean, they're well known. And, that's the stuff that's crazy. So we know that this is all manufactured insanity.
Yeah, so the news can use their freedom of speech to lie, but then they want us to stop using our freedom of speech to expose the writings of Islam and the Hadith.
Again, this is, I think of this as somewhat humorous because they can't even rile their own people up over these cartoons. They have to, I mean, they don't even, if you look at those, some of those are actually probably somewhat flattering, I would say. I mean, you have some guy drawing pictures, that's one, some are just symbols, and they're not actual portraits. One's just a stick figure. It wasn't enough to rile people up, so they had to lie and deceive. So the publisher of this and the cartoonist had their lives and businesses threatened because Sharia forbids pictures of Muhammad. People forget that Islam teaches that Sharia rules the lives of Muslims and non-Muslims. That's the other issue here. Memory took note of how the Muslim community around the world had become informed about a few cartoons in the Netherlands newspaper. They captured some of what was being said. Mohammed Foda, who wrote in the evening supplement of the Egyptian government daily, he wrote, the Muslims worldwide, some 1.5 billion, are facing a new kind of crusader war, whose weapon is the pen, not the rifle. Okay, here's my problem with this statement. It's 2006 when he's writing. 2007 when he's writing this. 2007. What's the issue? Well, in 1915, there were. It was revealed, and I mean it's already been revealed. But in 1915, a fatwa was written that labeled the second level of jihad word jihad. Oh, word war. So it's okay for them, but it's not okay for anybody who's not Muslim.
Right. Hey, if they do it, we can do it. You know,
And they don't want us to know those things. And this is
too
the
bad.
stuff. This is the stuff that gets. So now, oh, I'm gonna share a video. I went looking. I have the picture. For Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. This is why I was laughing about the date that was chosen. Now, Everybody Draw Muhammad Day is actually May 20th, 2022 in Sweden. So, this little video I'm going to share, I'm sharing it. I didn't put it together. That's my best comment on it. I don't necessarily agree with all the stuff that's in the video, but I think it says it. So I'm just going to share it, and
Cool.
And let me just get there. Okay, it has its own little piece.
God has smiled upon you this day, the fate of a nation in your hands. And blessed be the children we who fight with all our bravery, till only the righteous stand. You see the distant flames, they bellow in the night. You fight in all our names for what we know is right. And when you all get shot and cannot carry on, though you die, la resistance lives on. You may get stabbed in the head with a dagger or a sword. You may be burned to death or skinned alive or worse. But when they torture you, you will not feel the need to run, for though you die, la resistance lives on.
Brave Canada! Brave Canada! Because the country's gone awry. Tomorrow night these freaks will cry!
Tomorrow night, our lives will change. Tomorrow night, we'll be entertained. An execution, what a sight. Tomorrow night.
There's so much room where babies birth and flowers bloom. Tomorrow night up there is doomed, and so I will be going soon.
Shut your fucking face, Uncle Fucker! You're a bona fide bastard, Uncle Fucker! Looks like we may be out of luck. Tomorrow night we're pretty fucked. Why did our mother start this war? What the fuck are they fighting for? When did this song become a marathon?
I want to
When Canada is dead and gone, there'll be no more Sutliffian!
Then they cut your dick in half and serve it to a pig. And though it hurts, you'll laugh and dance a dickless jig. But that's the way it goes. In war, you're shut upon, though we die.
I want to
La resistance lives on.
Oh, I love the reverse psychology of it. Awesome.
I saw that
Awesome.
and I had to share it. So, you know,
Love
here's the truth about this, though. A little bit of background. This is Molly Norris from Seattle, Washington. She's the one who put this the little picture up that Everybody Draw Muhammad Day. That's actually has a teacup on it. It has a domino. It has little things that like a thimble, not a thimble, but a roll of thread, and they're all saying, "I'm Muhammad." I mean, there's nothing. In the sign says, "Will the real likeness of the Prophet Muhammad please stand up?" It was pretty bold and brash. Okay, and again, it was supposed to be for May 20th, 2010. You know what happened? There was so many nasty statements. It didn't happen. So let me give you these figures. This will blow your mind. The Facebook group where people joined by the thousands, by May 20th, there were 101,870 members. All right. An oppositional group was also created, garnering a little more number, but then, as we know, Facebook engages in censorship. It's possible FB was limiting who could see the group. So and I actually see that with my group, the Sutliffian Report. Every once in a while, it'll drop the numbers. So there's got to be something about having 1,000 members, because we're over 1,000 members. And they will like drop a member here, drop a member there until we're under 1,000. And like, yeah, I've done membership drives, and we'll get over 1,000 real quick. Like, it's funny. So we're seeing that happen. So I do say Facebook is probably involved in the manipulation. So Malian Facebook organizer ended up running from the group. That's the sad part. Their lives were threatened. Imam Dr. Jihad Delik of the Canadian Islamic Congress said, those who are creating these pro-Draw Muhammad Facebook groups with intentions to create more controversy are doing a disservice to this great country. This was a claim that drawing Muhammad would make him and others Muslims victims. Really? You're a victim of name calling. Wait a minute. Are you equating yourself with Muhammad? Are you saying that Allah and Muhammad are one? Because blasphemy is only against the law with Islam if you're insulting who? Could it be Muhammad? No, it's Allah. So if you're equating insulting Muhammad with insulting Allah, doesn't that mean you're making him have a partner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you only blaspheme God.
Yes.
That's
where the humor comes in. So they're owning up to looking at things as that's where I see some of this humor. They don't realize that their choices and how to address this is making Muhammad a partner with Allah, which they call shirk.
Yep.
And okay, that's on them. All right. Some of these things you just have to laugh about. All right. I mean, it's just common sense, but I don't expect common sense or logic to be used by followers of Muhammad. So here's another thing that happened. 5 years later, we get this event called Stand with the Prophet. In January of 2015 in Garland, Texas, and Informed Media, who worked for the United West, and Jesse Waters purchased tickets online to be able to see the event. Okay, so they're having that. 1 week before that, Charlie Hebdo, a satirical magazine, was attacked for publishing cartoons of Muhammad. January 7th, 2015, the brothers Sheriff and Said Kouachi got out of their car armed with Kalashnikov assault rifles and entered the building. They went to the second floor and killed 10 people. In the pursuit, they murdered 2 police officers. Witnesses to the event claimed they heard them shout, "We have avenged the Prophet Muhammad. Allah Akbar." You think about what they said. Avenged the Prophet Muhammad. Again, there's nothing in Islam that says, again, it's apostates that get killed. That's their statement, that offending the Prophet is insulting Allah, which makes, it's an apostasy statement by those who kill. Again, I put this on Muhammad because he was okay with killing over this concept, and he's supposed to be perfect. No one's more responsible.
Islam murder is perfect.
Yeah. This is so. I have a few friends who are actually. I don't know if I'm going to have time for that, but let's talk about that horrifying attack in Charlie Hebdo. Now, Charlie Hebdo is still known for its irreverence. Doesn't care who you are, what you believe. They're irreverent. Does it mean it's something I like? Well, it's more likely that I don't have much taste for it. I mean, they'll insult Christians, they'll insult Jews, they'll insult anybody. They're okay with that. And you know what? In a free society, you have to allow this. It doesn't say you have to like it, but you have to allow it. Because then you get something called the free exchange of ideas. You get discussions rather than fights. You are able to sit down and have a discussion about why you think one thing and the other person thinks another thing, instead of one of you taking out a gun and deciding to mow the other people down. And that's why this is important. This is a concept forbidden within Islam. And here's the horrible truth about this. There is no excuse for your state departments in whatever country you are in not knowing this. It's their job to understand customs of other countries. Yet they want to bring, in the United States, they brought over 100,000 Muslims here under Biden. Think about it. They knew they were bringing people here who hate freedom of speech. They knew they were bringing people here who didn't have problems with the concept of pedophilia. They knew they were bringing people here who had no problems with them beating women when they're married. They had no problem bringing people here who can look at non-Muslim women as sexual prey. I can go on. And I haven't even mentioned the word jihad when I'm talking about this. What was the real intention of bringing them here? When state departments, who are supposed to be great people who understand culture, how could they not know these things? How could the military who were there not know these things? And this is where I get upset. I wish things were different. So I'm gonna.
So do you really think that they're that ignorant? Because I don't.
No, I don't.
You know,
That's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
at all.
I don't think I especially don't think our military are ignorant, because they saw it. All right. And I've talked to several soldiers who said, yes, we saw this. Yes, we saw that. But here's where it gets me. And this is why I'm saying the people who are in your State Department, the organization within your country that has to do with dealing with other cultures and other countries. They know all of this. Yet they are silent. That means something here is purposeful.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that is the scary truth of it. When you're bringing in 100,000 people who are not legally, this is the truth of it. They can't come to this country like this under classification. They can't come legally. They have to be called refugees. They have to be labeled refugees. Well, you're not a refugee if you're not outside your country. So when they put them on the planes, they were not legally refugees. They brought them here. This is all illegal under U.S. law. This whole concept, this whole action was against the U.S. Constitution and federal law. And there's no denial of that. That's the point.
So then, if it's against federal law, how come they're not getting indicted by this?
Because we have weenie congressmen and congresswomen who won't stand up for federal law.
Wow. So,
yeah,
geez.
And it doesn't take a genius to see this. Well, they're all worried. Oh, well, it'll look like this. It'll look like that. I'll look bad. I won't look good. I won't get reelected. I don't freaking care if you don't get elected. You're supposed to be there to defend the U.S. Constitution.
Yes. That's right.
All right.
Didn't they put their hand on a Bible or something to defend it?
Yes.
And then they're turning around and not. So they're lying, and now they're proving themselves to be liars.
Well, on top of that, there's another issue. It's simply this. in they have people who are who are conservative or Republican who are saying we can't do anything because we're outnumbered. I say you have a responsibility to stand up. There were people who filed charges of impeachment. It was quickly hidden. It was quickly hidden.
Impeachment on who?
On
On
Biden.
those certain people?
On Biden, yeah.
Oh, on
bringing-
Biden.
Yes,
On Biden.
yes. And that happened. I have
Wow.
seen, there's been about 4 charges of impeachment, maybe closer to 10. I don't know. I've seen them filed as resolutions. That's a problem. When
Yeah,
you
because it
fi-
wouldn't be a resolution.
Well, you can vote on a resolution.
Okay.
Resolutions have no effect.
Hmm.
That's where we run into trouble. And
Okay, so that's how they get away from holding Biden accountable.
yes,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's the first I've heard of it, that they've brought maybe 10.
I think it's actually more than that, but there's a couple. There's a congresswoman who read about 7 charges at least of her own. There's a couple others who have brought them and read them in. I'm not saying I'm keeping up on all of that, but I do notice it when it comes out, and they don't want you to know this. They don't want people to see this in the news, and that's the sad part. And that's the reason why I do what I do. It's why Eric and everybody else who's part of this community shares this information out. If you were to go to house.gov, and you can go to you can type in impeachment, and you can type in what I would search for the year 2020 and then 2021. You'll find charges of impeachment filed against Biden. All right. Now, they are put in as a resolution. Now, I think that there's a separate manner that they have to be filed in a formal manner for impeachment to be effective. And I don't think a resolution is the correct format. I could be wrong, but I see resolutions just get voted yay or nay.
So resolutions meaning who votes on these?
Everybody in the
Rep?
House. This would be
Okay.
just the House. So, and the impeachment charges have to be brought up originally in the House. It can't start in the Senate.
Okay, so when they're voting, or if they're voting, isn't it supposed to show on C-SPAN?
It should.
Okay, it should, but none of them have?
So they'll get read in. See, now sometimes resolutions like this get tabled.
Tabled, meaning it's behind closed doors.
Yeah, no, tabled means
Okay.
they get sent to a lower stage than being voted on. So
A lower stage than being voted on.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that means
What kind of law is that? Is that even a law?
Sometimes a law needs a little, it has some grammatical mistakes. It has some issues. It needs to be tweaked. And
Yes, sir.
that's when something gets tabled. So I have written a proposed law, and I have written law that actually has written bills that have become law. I've had one of the ones I put through many years ago that became law. The assemblyman, or he's the state senator for South Carolina. He would keep rewriting it, and then he decided to go put it through, and it went through quickly, which kind of blew my mind. Get a call within the week, he put it through. Like, what? Didn't expect it. Okay. Here I am dancing around. Oh, I wrote.
Well, God bless you, Paul. I don't know what that law was, but God bless you. Wow.
It was to keep the Syrians from entering South Carolina.
So they wanted to dump a bunch of Syrians in South
They were
Carolina.
in the process of doing it because the governor then, Nikki Haley, was all for it.
Nikki Haley
Yeah.
was all for it. So
Yes.
is she Muslim? Does she know anything about Islam?
No, she just
Oh, wow.
she's a girl who does what she's told in general, and that's why I think Trump wanted her. And as you can tell, she's not. It just if you look at the way she's addressed things lately, she's not exactly for thing for Trump anymore. So
Okay.
again, whoever her master is, it sounds pretty cruel to put it that way. Whoever is giving her instructions, she does well following instructions, but I don't think she does well on her own. And that's where I think she's probably she might have reached that Peter principle where, you rise to the level of your incompetence.
Mhm.
And now when she's on her own, she's in that level. When she's her own purpose, I think she doesn't. I just don't think she has the talent, unfortunately, to go higher. I want to save this. I might be having a guest next week. I want to get more into this later, but I do want to talk about some other things that are very, very similar to this topic of freedom of speech. And one of them, I'm just going to get straight into this. One of them is entirely, it's all about something that's happened to me personally. Now, freedom of speech is not just an Islamic issue; it's an American issue. It's all about us. What do I mean by that? Nobody likes your freedom of speech being removed. Nobody should. We should be fighting for freedom of speech regardless of where we are. So I'm going to
Amen.
share with you the fight that I am having with LinkedIn. I have been given a lifetime ban from LinkedIn. I don't think anybody should get a lifetime ban from something. And I sit here and I still marvel the fact that anybody can get a lifetime ban. All right. I laugh about it because especially now they are lying. LinkedIn is lying through their teeth about why I was banned. And I'm going to show you historically how we know what happened. And this again, freedom of speech is a big issue for all Americans. We should be very concerned when someone's trying to steal our freedom of speech. So here's what happened for me. October 4th, 2021, I shared a video that had information that was common in public knowledge. What was it? Natural immunity is stronger than a vaccination. Oh, you know who put it out? Project Veritas. And you know who said it? The Pfizer scientist.
Oh,
And
wow.
all of a sudden, within 2 minutes of me posting it, I was banned.
Wow.
So let me just share what actually happened as a result. I got this nice little statement. Notice it doesn't tell me what I did wrong. Your account's restricted. Verify your identity. I did that. Okay, so I got this. And again, it says we've deemed the activity in your account in violation of the LinkedIn user agreement and professional community policies. Your appeal has been denied. Did it tell me what I did wrong? And it says, here's the part. Your account has been restricted permanently. Let me just grow that so everybody can see that. Permanently. It's not temporary. It's not 1 week. All right. I had gotten one suspension before. All right. Permanently. Yeah. All right.
So they can have their freedom of community policies, but they don't allow everybody else to have their own freedom.
Oh,
you
you're
know,
not allowed to have your freedom. That's for sure.
but they have their freedom, but we don't get our freedom. Well, that doesn't work,
So I wrote to my local congressman who was a Dem and got no response. Well, what do I expect? He's a Hillary Clinton fan. So I wrote, hey, hello, Representative Morelli. I live in Somerville. I'm active politically. And because of that, I was banned from LinkedIn for sharing one video that contained no new knowledge. I was offered a chance to appeal, but was not granted that chance. I received a lifetime ban for sharing old factual information. I received no due process. LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. I have used the platform to extend my work in counterterrorism and my work in Christian news as a Christian news broadcaster. I'm a federally recognized expert in civilization jihad and was being banned from my network of 18,000 plus connections. All right. And that should have helped my book sales, you would think. So I mean, I actually have a financial case when you think about it. I asked that you would, what would happen tomorrow if your cell phone suddenly shut down and all the phone numbers and contacts you suddenly had were gone? The company refuses to help you because they hate that you are a Democrat. Would this be acceptable to you? Of course, I got no response. I had 18,000 connections, and many of them counterterrorism experts from around the world, many of them pastors from around the world. In connection, I mean, I just was I love the platform far more than I like Facebook. Let me put it that way. I was making new connections every day, and I was quite popular, at least I thought so. So here's the humor. I am still an advisor. I'm still considered a LinkedIn advisor.
But you can't do anything.
But I can't do anything.
Wow.
They still send me invitations to advise LinkedIn.
Oh, so you're still on their mailing list that they're probably selling. So there you go. Yeah.
But I help. My opinion, it can be used to change LinkedIn, but I'm not allowed to use LinkedIn, which I find incredibly humorous. Again, freedom of speech, people. Yeah, you can see that was sent October 14th, so it was definitely afterwards. All right.
Who owns LinkedIn, Paul?
What?
Who's the owner?
Microsoft.
Oh, Microsoft. So Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So here's evidence. Jason Fogg is the guy who told me I was taken down. He let me know. It was like, I saw the video you posted, and then I looked at it, and then everything was gone. He could let me know within 2 minutes. Because I'd shared my contact information with a lot of people. I mean, I had great contacts. This is just one of the great contacts I had. So he wrote it right there. He put it on Facebook. He put a statement up there, and people wrote on it. Paul Sutliff was just taken off this platform for sharing indisputable video footage of a drug company scientist giving facts regarding the Wu flu treatment. He had 18,000 followers. LinkedIn has joined in silencing of the truth. Okay, this gets worse. All right. And okay. Erwin Allman, who's another friend of mine, he wrote, very disappointing LinkedIn would do this. Do you get banned for mentioning Project Veritas, or are you not allowed to criticize the drug companies? Who butters your bread, LinkedIn? All right. Michael Vanyakov.
I love that one.
Who's
Who butters your bread?
Erwin's a personal friend of mine too. So yeah, and Michael Vanyakov is now is as well. Michael Vanyakov we've had on the show here, and again, professor of the University of Pittsburgh. He wrote, apparently LinkedIn wants to share in informing a progressive society with totalitarian thought control. I wonder how often LinkedIn censors communists. It does censor on behalf of communists.
Sounds like it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is where it gets humorous to me. I wrote to them, and they wrote this back. Now, this is on the 10th of this month. They wrote back, they said, your account was restricted due to multiple violations of LinkedIn's user agreement and professional community policies against sharing content that contains misleading or inaccurate information. 1, thinking this is a dilemma is wrong and dangerous mindset. The gene therapy jabs have proven ineffective. They have also proven to cause serious injury, including death, paralysis, blood clots, and more. The head of AMA even admitted that they would have to wait 20 to plus years to see if it negatively affected fertility. The great danger here is not telling the truth. It's not a vaccine, it's gene therapy. Stop lying. Okay, if they had gone to the link, that particular one was, I believe, was a link to a medical professional He was the head of the American Medical Association, saying we have to wait 20 years to find out if it removes your fertility. 20 years.
Okay, so you're not
Okay.
saying anything different than what
Oh,
they're
okay.
saying. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm quoting a medical professional, and again, it's not misleading. It's not inaccurate. I had a link that went there. Okay. All right. Again, the reason I was taken down was because of a Project Veritas video algorithm. So once you posted it, I mean, I never got any strikes for these things. They didn't. I never got one. I was on the, taken down within 2 minutes of posting a video. I mean, you would see your strikes. Again, these were not there. Media outlets are lying. Here's more proof, video proof. Again, I had connections. All these were links to articles. So it says, once again, my team was on the ground. We knew media would lie, so we documented these strange series of events where Capitol Police set up protesters telling them to go to the Capitol. So I had videos, and the guy who was sharing these videos is connected to Trump, and he's connected to a lot of other friends that I have. We've actually talked multiple times. So he was sharing multiple videos of, I mean, not just one. We're talking about, there was about 15, I'd say somewhere between 10 and 15 different videos of police officers inviting people into the Capitol building. And these were taken by patriots. He was being sent them every day, and he was posting them. So they're upset that I might have posted something that went contrary to their opinion. Oh, okay. Again, freedom of speech. This is the issue. This is the real issue here. So I wrote back. I demand. Sorry. No, this is the upside. This continues. I demand the police. Yeah. This continues with that. I demand the police and whoever gave the order from the Capitol to open the barriers and doors, they be prosecuted. Okay. Not just the citizens who are following orders from those who were supposed to guard. That's a pretty logical statement. I mean, the people who opened those doors when they were supposed to be closed should face prosecution. If
Right.
anything, that's highly professional, right? The guy who wrote this and had it put out, he's a politician. He's a professional, and there's nothing wrong with this statement. Again, there was evidence. There was video evidence of them opening the doors. Okay. Again, they're citing this as the reasons that were imaginary reasons that I got banned. Okay, so another one. They gave a third one. Here's this one makes me laugh. I'm sorry. To get Sleepy over the line, the scale had to be massive. So massive, getting caught, it was inevitable. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the show. You're gonna love how it ends. This is from Hard Truths, the motive, Trump 2020, and there was a link to an article, to a video that how Biden was really not mentally competent. Okay. I didn't get a strike for any one of these, or didn't get notified for any one of these. And again, I find this humorous. Notice the dates they're giving. 2020. Oh, January 2021. Let's go back. And let's see if I can do that. Previous. All right. August 2021. Wait a minute. So they're saying I had a strike in August, but no one told me. They're saying I had a strike on November 2020. No one told me. They're saying I had a strike in January 2021. So they had to go back to find these things to create it. That's what I'm saying. So
Wow.
here's what I wrote back to them on the 10th. Your response claiming I violated policy multiple times is not true. I had only one previous violation. I was canceled solely because I posted a Project Veritas video. I still have a copy of that statement. I was canceled within 2 minutes of posting the video. Apparently, LinkedIn at the time used algorithms to prevent sharing of scientists sharing information about COVID that did not fit the narrative. I never once received any violations for the 3 you cited. The proof that Vax was gene therapy was a link to Pfizer stating it was gene therapy. The site was scrubbed at a later date. That's why I received no violation. I also provided a link to VAERS data at some point. Amongst them are, and here's medical citations. These are from the medical journals, okay? Antibodies, immunity in COVID-19, all right? It's right there. This study proved that giving COVID vax to those with natural immunity lowers their immunity levels. Okay, it's right there. Okay, so they want to argue with me about the vax stuff. Okay, right there. And here's another one: equivalency of protection from natural immunity and COVID-19 recovered versus fully vaccinated persons. The study documented an increase in adverse reactions of COVID vax to those with natural immunities. Also shows lowering effectiveness of immunity as the previous study. Okay. I continued writing. I find it interesting that you claim I violated terms of service by sharing videos of January 6th. I was not once notified that this was a violation of TOS, not once. Again, they say that, and they were claiming this, months and months previous, and they waited till September to close me out. Yeah. In fact, it's a violation of terms of service to not notify me of your claim. It's a violation of terms of service to not allow due process. On that regard, there are also numerous articles on Antifa's involvement. I have been present in Toronto when Antifa attacked the police in an attempt to get at me and others. I've documented that attack and shared it out. Below is just one article of evidence that backed my original posting on the January 6th topic. And I provide a link where Antifa member admits disguising himself as Trump supporter. All right. And that's considered a reliable source. So again, I don't know why the information as to why I was locked out changed suddenly. I tried to appeal twice. Both times, no human responded, and a citation that I was locked out due to posting to Project Veritas was made. I do not know. I do know that this is likely because I have spoken about LinkedIn violating my due process rights and removing income from myself as my nearly 18,000 connections would have allowed an increase in book sales. So I'm kind of hinting, I'm thinking, I may pursue this financial. There's definite financial damages here. I wish I had money, could just call a lawyer and say, hey, you want a free, I'll let you take 50%. I don't care, 60, 70. I just want I want back in. And I really want to see somebody punished. And so now they have written back. Thanks for your policy. Thanks for your response. I certainly understand from your point of view. Per our policy, require you to share information that's real and authentic. Wait a minute. They didn't read anything I wrote. All right, that's the funny part. This is what you call a form response. We restricted your account pending your response that you adhere to the LinkedIn user agreement. Blah 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 blah. Okay, they don't read. So again, I wrote back. Thank you for stating you require us to provide information that's real. You have not provided any evidence that any of the material I shared was not accurate. I do news broadcasting every week. None of what I shared was not real. None of what I shared was not verified. However, what is evident is that LinkedIn is involved in influencing elections by only allowing their interpretation of facts instead of allowing the facts themselves to be presented. The video of police officers opening the door that I shared were mentioned in congressional reviews of January 6th. Not one of these sessions denied they were real. But then you apparently chose not to allow that evidence to be shared to sway an opinion. Examples of professional journalists using the videos are multiple, and I give several citations there, down to Rob Johnson's recent use of them. All right. The article of Pfizer's vaccine being gene therapy has been verified as factual over and over through medical journals and Pfizer documents. So your purposeful removal of that information is intentional control of factual information for the purpose of misleading the public. You have not provided any evidence that the vaccine is not gene therapy also. So they're saying I provided misinformation. They haven't proven it.
Right.
Okay. Medical journals back what I'm stating because they're saying medical journals state that it is gene therapy. All right. So I understand you get things wrong sometimes, but censorship of factual, verifiable information denies LinkedIn is a platform. It makes you a publisher. You are providing evidence in your responses that you have restricted my account because I shared facts that were not liked. It's not my fault that you don't do proper research and that you do not verify using professional documents and more. I demand you grant me access to my account since I provided evidence of your errancy in restricting me. You know what I was told?
What?
Wait 2 weeks. Wait 14 days. 14 days. So here's the 14-day statement. Oh, you got to wait for 14 days. Really? Does it take you 14 days to push a button? I mean, I provided factual evidence in each one of those responses that showed you were a lying sack of garbage, basically, to LinkedIn.
Yeah, they want to see if you'll put your foot in your mouth. So just wait the 14 days because they want to see if you'll come back and say any more. So, yeah, just fine, because I think it's a trap. So fine, wait out your 14 days and see what
Yeah.
they do.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. The stuff I shared, it's all factual information that can be easily seen, and it's not hard to find. The thing that bothers me the most is when anybody's freedom of speech is impeded. It's dangerous for every American. All right, that clear and present danger test is one of the best tests. Is it, if something presents a clear and present danger, then yes, that should be censored. Sharing exchange of ideas, sharing factual information. One of the things I shared on a regular basis there was the persecution of Christianity. I also shared, I would do devotional videos up and put them there. There's a few other things but every day I was sharing, I was getting responses back. Like Twitter, they get concerned when you have too much of an influence. And this is one of the reasons I think they dropped Trump in Twitter. They dropped Trump because his influence was huge. They didn't care that he disagreed with them. They cared that he had an influence stronger than what they wanted. And that's where things become issues. XYZ, if you know any lawyer willing to contact me, tell them to give me a call. I just don't know anyone who's willing to take the case. I would love to, I would enjoy the cash. Let me put it that way.
How about ACLJ? Jay Sekulow. Have you tried writing them?
This is the most responses I've had from LinkedIn. Now they basically are hanging themselves because they had to make up stuff. I don't think the person who responded is the one responsible for making this crap up. I think what part of the algorithm had to go searching for things. When they wanted to cancel, they had to have a reason. And it said, okay, you posted this video. Now we got to go find things that we might not agree with. They never thought about being found out as a lying, as deceitful and as a publisher by doing this.
I've got a question, Paul. When all these companies say, well, this doesn't meet our community standard, aren't they still held under the Constitution of the United States if they're in America?
You're asking a great question. Right now, they're functioning under a legislation that was written in the 90s. That's not even close to being effective for, here we are, 2020, 30 years later. And they have more power than ever before because they're being allowed to claim they are a platform and not a publisher. Once they get called a publisher, then things change. And that's where we have to go. Each one of these social media places needs to be called a publisher. Then here's the danger. As a publisher, they can choose who to accept and not to accept. So they can basically close us out because we disagree with them. But at the same time, they don't want to lose the audience. So that's where things will get interesting. They'll have to obey the law when they become publishers. They have to provide due process. But that's where we have to go. They have to have that platform protection removed. There are no.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, that law needs to change because now, they can do things that are not constitutionally
we can't
founded.
in Florida. You can't in Florida. That's we need men like we need men like Ron DeSantis in our Congress. We need men like him in the executive wing. We need men like him fighting for Americans. I'm not running for Congress, but there are many good men and women out there. I know in my area we have LaRon Singletary who's running. good Christian man who understands and he has a lot of good ideas too. So I'm just going to keep plugging that you need to stand behind people. Be out there voting in the primary. Be out there voting in these crazy just be out there voting, because you have too many bad options out there today. Too many people who are not going to show up when it's their turn to vote. You got to watch these things. We got to keep people on their toes. And then we
Amen.
have the puppet master who is pulling Joe Biden's strings. I just watched a video today from another country. I think it was Australia, and they were laughing at how incompetent Biden is, and they're calling it. They were basically calling it elder abuse. I mean, there's no way that he can be. He actually knows what he's doing. I agree with them. It is elder abuse. What's happening? How is this being allowed? That they're laughing at this country because no one's protecting the president. What does that say about the Secret Service? And that's another statement by itself. How can they be protecting the president when they're allowing him to be abused and used in this manner? That to me is an incredibly powerful statement, that if they claim to be the ones to protect the president, yet they're allowing him to be abused for the purpose of being able to control the country. I don't have any respect for Secret Service anymore. Once you start thinking about these things in a little more complicated manners, it's very revealing. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for joining me, Connie. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, sir.
God bless everybody. Stand up and fight. Don't give up. My suggestion today, get out, share the truth. Best thing you can do today is to get truth out. Share the facts. Find a candidate you like and push them. Stand behind them. Because, and here's the other thing. Go get active in the polls. If you want to become an election inspector, a poll watcher, there are places for you to be active. I'm saying this because we can't allow another steal. I solely believe that if you've watched that 2,000 Mules, that's enough evidence right there by itself that the election was stolen. And that enough should be enough to decertify the last federal election for president.
Amen.
God bless everybody. Thank you.